Are you waiting for the other shoe to drop? Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, but you can call me Pajama Grandma, talking about and going through, just spending a couple of weeks going through different expressions that we hear and say, and we use to communicate with people to build understanding and build bridges, and what they mean to us growing our businesses and supersizing our businesses. And waiting for the other shoe to drop. As soon as I read this morning, I immediately thought of something bad, something negative, thinking about, of course, it's based on my past experience that I would automatically think of this in a negative way, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. And that's what I reminded myself of this morning. That's what I want to chat a little bit about. Because when we hear an expression like waiting for the other shoe to drop, in my past, it's meant waiting to get laid off when my company was bought by another bigger organization and I knew they were going to be downsizing. And I watched my friends and peers lose their jobs, and it was just a matter of time because I knew the writing was on the wall that, I would be one of the next people to go. And when was that going to be? And so that's part of my emotional attachment to waiting for the other shoe to drop. But when I think about waiting for the other shoe to drop, the only reason I would think about that in a negative way or a negative connotation, because what it means is literally waiting for something to finish, waiting anxiously or anticipating the finishing of something. So it was actually from a 20th century writer wrote about a man who lived in an apartment and was waiting to fall asleep, and he heard his loud neighbor upstairs drop his first shoe on the floor, and he was literally waiting for the other shoe to drop so he knew it would be quiet and he could go to sleep. Now, that, I don't know if that's a negative thing or not. That's kind of a neutral thing, right? I mean, I've lived in an apartment before where we called them, when we were building our house, we lived in an apartment for a while with our two small children, and the kids would call them the elephants upstairs because it always felt like elephants were walking on the floor upstairs just because the floors were thin. It wasn't because they were being super loud. It's just that's the way it is in apartment living. So we've all had experiences that color how we view things now. And mine obviously have been negative associations with anticipating or being excited about things. Now, I decided this morning that I'm going to change that and look for examples of finishing things in a positive way, or looking at situations and anticipating and being proactive. And I think that's the key, is whether you're proactive or reactive. If you're waiting for competitors to come along and eat your lunch and take and steal your customers, that's, you can look at that as the other shoe dropping in a negative way. If you're being proactive and serving your customers better than anyone else could possibly serve them, and then you really don't have to worry about the competition taking them away. So that is no longer a negative. You've turned it into a positive where they're going to stay with you because you do such a better job for them that they're just not even going to look for options or look for alternatives. That is a positive way of looking at waiting for the shoe to drop. So instead of waiting for them to leave you, you're waiting for them and anticipating that they're going to stay with you because you're doing such a good job for them. It's the difference between being reactive and reacting to just the things in the environment that happen and waiting till something happens and then deciding what you're going to do, versus planning ahead and doing what you're going to do to supersize and grow your business, to serve your customers better, to make sure that things turn out the way you want because you're creating them, you're crafting them, and you're planning and making sure they turn out that way. So think about and see if, and you're like me, and this particular way of thinking is still active in your life. Because I like to think I'm pretty proactive, but obviously since I had this immediate emotional thought about this particular saying, there are areas of my life where I'm not at all proactive, and I need to get better at that. So ask yourself today, are there places that I'm being reactive instead of proactive? And I would say, take a step toward changing those today. That's it. Go out, make an awesome day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow. Bye.